What's up, YouTube fam? It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'm back with another video. In this episode of Hood Tales, I'll be telling the story of Angel Bumpass, a young mother who was convicted of a heinous crime 10 years after it happened. She would have been 13 years old. But do they have the right person? Before we get into this video, welcome. If you're new here to our channel, please feel free to subscribe. Click that notification bell to get notified every time we upload. If you're rocking with the content, smash that like button. Share this video with everyone you know. Make sure you watch until the end to hear the full story. All right, let's jump right into it. So who is Angel Bumpass, and what was the heinous crime she is accused of committing? Angel Bumpass was born on March 3rd, 1995 in Tennessee. According to sources, Angel's mother had her when she was very young. And as for her father, Angel said he was not in her life early on. Angel described herself as quiet and shy. She said she didn't have a lot of friends and mostly stayed to herself. Growing up, Angel faced many challenges in her childhood as her mother was incarcerated when she was just 6 years old. Angel's mother was in prison on escape charges and firing a weapon at a deputy that caused serious injury. Angel went to live with her grandparents after that. Angel's mother wasn't the only one to have been to jail in her family. Several of Angel's family members had run-ins with the law and were incarcerated at one point or another, including at least 2 of her brothers and her grandmother, Shirley Bumbus, who Angel lived with. Angel, who appeared on the A&E TV show Accused, Guilty, or Innocent, said that she wasn't harmed or anything while she lived with her grandparents, but she said she never really felt loved either. When Angel was 16 years old, she left with a friend and started a new life in Kentucky. By 2018, 23-year-old Angel was the mother of 2 children and a student at Jefferson Community and Technical College in Louisville, Kentucky. She was set to start the nursing program in August of 2018. Angel and her children had a very bright future ahead of them. But suddenly, Angel's plans for her future would be put on pause. In 2017, Angel failed to appear for a traffic ticket and was arrested on that warrant. Her fingerprints were taken and put into the system. What Angel didn't know was that she would be arrested in 2018 after her prints came back as a match to fingerprints linked to a cold case crime that happened 9 years prior in her hometown of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Angel was charged with felony first-degree hit and aggravated robbery. The crime would have happened when Angel was just 13 years old. Let's dive into the heinous crime Angel is being accused of committing. It was January 16, 2009, in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Linda Bonner returned home from work and found her husband, 68-year-old Franklin Bonner, known as Kookie, in their home, duct taped to a table and chair with duct tape over his face, mouth, and nose. Franklin wasn't breathing. Linda frantically called 911. When officers arrived at the home on Enterprise Lane, it was in chaos. It appeared that Franklin Bonner's life had been taken during a robbery gone bad. According to Chattanoogan.com, a next-door neighbor to the Bonners for 17 years said he was sitting in his easy chair watching TV and heard someone ringing his doorbell and banging on the door at the same time. He said it was Linda Bonner, who was hysterical and in a panic. The neighbor said he got his weapon and went over to check to see if anyone was still inside the Bonner's home. He said he touched the neck of Mr. Bonner and got no pulse. Linda Bonner would later testify that she came home from her job at Goodwill Industries for a brief lunch that day. She said her husband was ironing because they had been invited to a birthday party that evening. She said someone in a restaurant drive-thru line ahead of her had taken too much time, so that left her with just a short time to eat. She said she left quickly. According to reports, Miss Bonner said she returned home after work and found her husband's car still there. She said she was surprised because he should have been on the route to pick the numbers up. She said he did that 7 days a week with the results tied to the Illinois lottery. Sources say Franklin was known as the lottery man around town. He was known to have run numbers in the neighborhood, according to ABC News in Chattanooga, and he would often have a good amount of cash on him. Miss Bonner also says that she and Mr. Bonner also dealt small amounts of grass in their community, mainly to those who used it recreationally. Miss Bonner said she first thought her husband had fallen from his inner ear problem. Then she saw he had been bound with duct tape. According to the medical examiner, Franklin Bonner had signs of blunt force trauma to his body, but his cause of death was determined to be suffocation, most likely due to the duct tape placed over his mouth and nose. According to sources, the original investigation in 2009 did not produce any indictments, but there were a few clues investigators had to go on. Detectives said that they had phone records showing that Shirley Bumpass, Angel's grandmother, had called Franklin Bonner that morning. Angel's grandmother lived approximately 2 miles away and stated she knew Kookie, referring to Franklin Bonner. According to reports, Shirley Bumbus told authorities she purchased grass from the man known as Kookie on the day of his demise. Back then, Shirley Bumpass was considered the last person to see Franklin Bonner alive. She was interviewed in 2009 in connection with the incident and admitted at the time to buying grass from Franklin Bonner that day. Police found fingerprints on the duct tape, but could not match the fingerprints to anyone in the system back then. The case would eventually go cold, with no leads pointing to a suspect. Fast forward 9 years later. Authorities would question Angel and try to get her to share information about the crime. The only connection between Angel Bumpass and Franklin Bonner were her grandparents. Her grandmother was considered to be the last person to see the victim alive. However, Angel swore she had no knowledge of the crime. She had never been inside the Bonner's house and didn't even know Franklin Bonner. She explained to authorities and her defense team that she couldn't provide information on who committed the crime because she didn't know that information. Angel was 13 in 2009 and an 8th grade student. Angel was a small, petite girl, standing 5 feet tall and weighing just 80 pounds. She was a good student with a rough home life. Her grandparents kept a very strict environment. She recalls nothing about that day in January and was shocked when she was arrested for felony hit. The only evidence connecting Angel to the crime was 2 partial fingerprints that matched the sticky side of a piece of duct tape taken from Mr. Bonner. There were 9 other fingerprints and a hair found on the duct tape that did not match Angel Bumpass. Another breakthrough in the case came after Angel's arrest, when a federal prisoner convicted of a bank robbery came forward with information about his cousin, a man named Mallory Vaughn. His cousin claimed that Mallory allegedly told him he burglarized the Bonner home and was the person who bound Mr. Bonner, causing his demise. However, he later changed his story, stating he became aware of the case through Detective Carl Fields and was just trying to get his sentence reduced. However, Mallory Vaughn was arrested and charged as a co-defendant of Angel Bumpass. Let's take a quick moment to discuss who Detective Fields was. He was a detective originally handling the evidence in the Bonner case, but he made headlines for other reasons. In 2016, he was accused of inappropriately harassing a victim, tampering with evidence, and gross misconduct, according to the Chattanooga.com. Criminal charges were filed against Detective Fields, and he was fired from the police department. However, the charges were eventually dropped due to lack of evidence. The legal issues with Detective Fields were supposedly part of the reason the case remained cold. According to sources, a new detective would take over the case after Franklin Bonner's family requested officials take another look at the cold case. That's when the authorities retested the fingerprints that were collected as evidence. Back to the arrest of Mallory Vaughn. A warrant was put out for his arrest in connection to the crime. According to news reports, detectives on the Bonner cold case said that the fingerprints they submitted for testing had resulted in a match to Mallory Vaughn. Mallory Vaughn proclaimed his innocence. When Mallory was arrested in 2018, they had not released Angel's name to the media. Because she was 13 when the crime happened, they could not release her name until they went to court. Mallory Vaughn would have been 26 years old at the time of Franklin Bonner's slaying. Angel Bumpass claimed to never have met Mallory Vaughn, which he confirmed. He claimed he had never met Angel either. Despite this, the two defendants would end up being tried together. Angel Bumpass and Mallory Vaughn's trial began in Hamilton County, Tennessee in the fall of 2019. Angel was represented by Andrea Haydock and Garth Best. Some would say the lack of evidence seemed to give Angel the confidence that she would be acquitted and her life would return to normal after the trial. Leading up to the trial, Angel talked about how hard it was to be accused of such a terrible crime. She said she did not commit the crime and had nothing to do with it. Angel said it was the worst year of her life, and the start of the trial was the worst day of her life. As the trial began, the prosecution presented the evidence of the fingerprints to the jury, claiming that the only way those fingerprints could be on the sticky side of the duct tape is if Angel was present at the time of the robbery. Angel's grandmother was called to testify. When she was asked if she saw Franklin Kookie Bonner the day of January 16, 2009, she denied seeing him or even talking to him. I believe that her contradictory testimony may have suggested that there was something to hide. I don't understand why Angel's grandmother changed her original statement. The defense would go on to present the evidence that 9 other fingerprints were also present on that duct tape. They hoped to cast doubt that Angel was there when the incident occurred. According to the defense, Angel was at school that day of the fatal home invasion. They told the jury that Angel arrived home around 3 in the afternoon. Angel's defense would argue that would have only left 2 hours for Angel to walk the 2 miles to the Bonner's home and commit the crime, then leaving before his wife got home around 5 that evening. According to reports, Angel's defense was prohibited from entering a phone call between Angel's brothers into evidence in which the crime was discussed. The brothers, who were incarcerated, discussed the charges against Angel and made statements like, "Think about it," and other vague wording that could have cast suspicion on them possibly being involved. While this evidence may have been beneficial to Angel's case, it could have also implicated her in a family robbery conspiracy. It was prohibited as hearsay. To explain the fingerprints on the duct tape, the defense would call their key witness to the stand, Angel's grandfather. He testified that Angel often helped him in the garage and played with rolls of duct tape. According to the testimony, Angel's grandfather did handyman work for Franklin Bonner often and may have possibly left duct tape at his home. Sources also revealed that the duct tape with the fingerprints had been destroyed in the years that the case went cold, which means the fingerprints could not be re-examined to ensure the accuracy of the forensic examination. There was only a photograph of the duct tape that was shown as evidence. Angel wanted to get on the stand and testify on her own behalf, but her attorney would advise her against it. As for Mallory Vaughn, his attorney said his client cooperated with the investigation. Mallory was someone who was also questioned in the initial investigation back in 2009, but they had nothing to link him to the crime. His attorney said none of the evidence from the scene is tied to his client. Mallory's defense said that the informant was not telling the truth about the confession Mallory had made regarding his involvement in the Bonner case. Both sides would make their closing arguments and rest their case. On October 3rd, 2019, the jury deliberated for almost 5 hours and returned verdicts in the trial against Mallory Vaughn and Angel Bumpass. Mallory Vaughn was found not guilty and acquitted. Angel Bumpass was found guilty on both counts, felony first-degree hit and aggravated robbery. After the verdict was read, Angel became emotional and cried as the judge spoke. She walked over to the officer so she could be taken away to prison. She no longer wanted to stay in court. She said loudly, "I'm never about to see my kids again." Angel was escorted out of the courtroom. In November of 2019, Angel was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole, plus 8 years for the robbery charge. She wouldn't have been eligible for parole until 2079, when she would have been 84 years old. Angel Bumpass appealed her conviction, but the appeal process got delayed due to the pandemic. A Change.org petition was created seeking support in Angel's appeal process. According to the petition on Change.org, only 12 of 150 ridges of a fingerprint have to match for the forensic examiner to determine it is a match. I guess it's safe to say that the validity of fingerprint evidence may be questionable, to say the least. The petition collected close to 900,000 signatures as of September 1st. Also, something of great concern in this case is the fact that Angel was only 13 years old when the crime would have occurred. Angel was tried as an adult despite being a juvenile at the time of the horrific incident. Supporters of Angel also believe that her original attorneys did not provide effective counsel. Some supporters felt like they missed certain opportunities that could have proven Angel's innocence. There is a Facebook group dedicated to seeking justice for Angel and reuniting her with her children. In July of 2022, Angel's new attorney filed a motion for a new trial. Just at the beginning of this month, a judge granted the motion. There were a lot of elements as to why a new trial was granted. According to TimeFreePress.com, the order that was granted and signed by the judge said, "The court agrees that the cumulative effect of errors by the court and the parties support the granting of a new trial." The judge vacated Angel's conviction and set the case back on the trial docket. A status hearing has been scheduled for October 7th. Her defense is currently either preparing for a new trial or an appeal. While many feel Angel's conviction was a gross miscarriage of justice, let's not forget about the victim and his family. Franklin Vaughn was a lifetime resident of Chattanooga. He was a husband, father, and grandfather. He was adored and loved by his family and friends. He was employed by the city of Chattanooga for 31 years before he retired. If Angel Bumpass is innocent, sadly, Franklin Vaughn's relatives have not received justice or any of the closure they deserve. I am praying for them and all who are involved in this tragic and senseless loss of life. My deepest and sincerest condolences to the family. May Franklin Kookie Vaughn continue to rest in peace. Fam, tell me your thoughts on this story. Do you believe in Angel Bumpass's innocence? What about her family's ties to the case and to the victim? Tell me your thoughts below. I want to hear from you in this one. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 Times, and I'm out.